Welcome to a very special episode of First Edition. I'm honored today. I have two men who are well known to me, two men who are well known to the country. We'd like to remind you that this is a special edition of First Edition. It's an hour paid for by the Progressive National Party, and therefore, in order to secure Radio Turks and Caicos, the views expressed by the guests are those of the guest and not necessarily that of Radio Turks and Caicos or the host. This is a sponsored and paid program by the Progressive National Party. In studio, please help me welcome listeners and viewers, Premier and leader of the Progressive National Party, the Honorable C. Washington Mizik, and of course his Deputy Premier and Deputy Leader of the PNP, the Honorable Jamel Robinson. Gentlemen, it's an honor to have you both, especially on a day like today. I mean, you're getting down to the end of the road. How are you feeling, Premier?
I feel very confident.
Yeah?
Very confident. We've done our work, we've delivered for the people, and we're ready to go to the polls.
So let's start, because we only have an hour and there are lots of things that the public want us to ask. Now, I know you're not a bragging man. I know that modesty and humility are two of your trademarks. But if you were asked, and if your administration had a report card, what grade would you give yourself? And what grade do you think the public would give you?
I'll start from the last part of that question. Okay? First of all, I am a Turks and Caicos Islander. I care deeply for the people of these islands. I am a member of a political party, but my focus is on uplifting everybody in the Turks and Caicos Islands, regardless to which complexion, with the complexion or color of the party one subscribed to. So I would certainly give the Progressive National Party an A+. We've brought this country from failing to a place where we've uplifted everyone who wants to be honest about the performance of this government. And so I would not hesitate. And time is limited. We have an hour here. I can go through a whole list of deliverables, but it's in the party's manifesto, and I welcome people to go and have a look. But if people look at us dispassionately and all the things that we've delivered, they will also give us an A+.
Yeah. So the grade is an A+. Yes. And there you have it, Turks and Caicos. The Progressive National Party is grading with an A+. Now, Premier, one of the questions that came from the public was that crime remains a pressing national issue. And despite your policies, gang violence and gang-related crimes persist. Do you truly believe that your government has been effective in helping to tackle crime?
Yes, I do believe that. It would have been far, far worse if we didn't put the resources that we put behind it. And it is on the brink of getting better. We're putting far more additional resources behind it. By the end of this month, or sometime during the course of this month, we will have 50 armed officers on the street. We will increase our tactical team from 9 to 50. Right? And that is because we have such a great relationship with our regional partners that we're getting support. We have the ability to draw down even on more support than that. I made a pledge that I would break the back of crime in this country, and we're doing everything we can. Spent $127 million over the last 4 years, giving the police everything they've asked for. A whole list of equipment has been delivered. We have $48 million scheduled for the next year. And we will continue to pour resources, technology, and human resources, and all of crime-fighting resources that we have at our disposal or can procure, in addition to networking with our partners, the United States, the Bahamas, and the whole region.
Yeah. Let me just bring your Deputy Premier and Deputy Leader in. Honorable Robinson, one of the hot button issues right now is housing, and housing remains a major concern, especially for middle and low income families. What specific and measurable steps have you taken and will you continue to take to improve housing affordability?
Thanks, Ms. Foreman, and that's a great question because cost of living is at the heart of what we are trying to bring down and get under control. Because under the leadership of Honorable Charles Washington Mizik, we've done several things in terms of reducing the CPF. having zero-rated duty breadbasket items. Also, when it was appropriate, having the three stimulus and the one course of release adjustment that we had to do. In terms of housing specifically and bringing that down or dealing with that, we would have passed the housing policy, launching three key programs. One, which would have been the concessions for developers, and that would be local developers primarily, as well as the home refurbishment, as well as the rebuilding of new homes. Now, we would have completed that policy, and also one, which was one of our medium-term plans, which would have been the setting up of the mortgage corporation and the transitioning to the housing authority. Honorable Premier would have sped that up. So we would have set up the committee. They would have already started the work. We would have put $20 million aside so Turks and Caicos Islanders can have a better rate for any mortgages going forward. So those are the things we've done that are concrete. We are on the cusp of sending out our requests for proposals for the affordable housing for Turks and Caicos Islanders. So we're literally right on the cusp of delivering affordable housing en masse. We're talking about the first tranche being at least over 100 houses compared to the other guys where they want to do 150 over 5 years, which isn't realistic and it's a drop in the bucket. So those are the types of things that under the leadership of our premier and party leader that you can expect to continue to see going forward. And we are going to continue to deliver for the people of these Turks and Caicos Islands.
Now we're in this season. We know we're almost at the end, but we keep hearing, and like the Honorable Premier just said, maybe it's just people being, dispassionate or just being mischievous. But we keep hearing that development isn't benefiting Turks and Caicos Islanders. Infrastructure is said to be an economic enabler.
Right.
Can you point or name one transformative infrastructure project that benefited the lives of Turks and Caicos Islands?
Well, I'll name several actually, because there's a number of ongoing. So we're on the crux of completing the Grand Turk Sports Complex, which is only the second such facility in the country next to Gus Lightburn. So the persons in Grand Turk will have an alternate place to do their conferences. The school children will have an indoor basketball court and basically arena to be able to move forward. Also, the several layers of infrastructure in terms of the roads. Persons would have seen us start and completed the refurbishments to the Leeward Highway from Susie Turn to Scotiabank Corner. That's something that's also going to continue as we expand on the arteries across Providenciales to ease the traffic concerns. And of course, with the traffic concerns, we would have put in the measures to only have vehicles that are under 10 years old being able to be imported. So we're looking at the climate change and emissions rating and stuff. So we have great cars on the road. And there's several other things that we're doing. And again, our major focus is on housing, because I think that is the key piece of infrastructure that we need to get in place moving forward that will basically supercharge this country. And of course, I forgot the ports infrastructure project, which at South Dock, that's going to be completed, I believe, sometime by the summer. That's over a $40 million investment. And of course, the Clinton Wilson port facility, and that's not even talking about Belfield Landing, or as well as works that would have been in the Grand Turk Port, South Caicos Port. They just recently put out the Cedar Park development. He also noted and about to sign the contract for the Regatta Village development. So there's a number of things that we're looking to transform the lives of Turks and Caicos Islanders from an infrastructural standpoint.
Yeah, let's stay with the economy, Honorable Leader. So the economy has seen post-pandemic recovery, but critics say that wealth inequality still remains stark. What concrete steps have you taken, or by you, I mean your government, to ensure that economic prosperity is felt by all, not just businesses and the tourism sector?
Well, first of all, I've said this. If I said this once, I've said it 100 times. My government is focused on triple bottom line sustainability. The economy, the social environment, and the natural environment. Okay? And so the economy has to be strong and growing in order to fund all of the social demands. Okay? And so if you look at what has happened in terms of the infrastructure, like you mentioned, these will all benefit the public. And as we expand, it will be even more. But I just want you to look for a minute on all of the social benefits that we've given to our population since we've been here. Because at the end of the day, it's people who should be at the heart of government. Okay? And put another way, it's about people, place, and productivity. The first is people. And so we're investing heavily in our people, in education, in healthcare, in providing social benefits to the elderly, providing social benefits for daycare, for after school, providing social benefits for people who are temporarily furloughed from their jobs. And the list goes on and on and on. Those are benefits. We have set up InvestTCI, the grant program. We've given out $5 million over the last 4 years. And we've also provided grants to people who are in the agricultural sector. And we are now looking at how we can provide a revolving loan fund to allow those people to escalate their business to the next level. Because the government will never be in a position to give everybody who wants or everybody who deserves funding a grant. So, but we are focused, our population is small, and we have to decide where we're going to position our population. And I have this idea in mind that we should be focusing our population on the professions, on the entrepreneurship, and on trades. Okay? And over the next 5 years, you will see us making those moves. In the first place, we will be putting in place a trade school specifically aimed at the construction and allied sectors. We already have TVET in our school, but we think we need a dedicated trade school so that our young people will have an opportunity to benefit from this economic robust growth, because by learning trades and being able to participate as entrepreneurs, it's about the young people. And it's important to note that they're with us, right? You know, I am absolutely humbled when I run into a lot of these young people, and some of them come rushing to me and hugging me up, Uncle Washi, right? Okay, to me that's a term of endearment that is saying something to me that my programs and policies are touching the next generation of this country. And so yes, I don't believe in it trickling down. So we are actually building up our people from the bottom up. Spoke about housing. We are going to be putting in place a health authority, or to deal with the transition of the hospitals that are now privatized into a national health authority that will look at the management of our hospital and our health system. Looking at building a hospice so people can live the rest of their lives out in comfort and access to their families. And we have to focus more, and will be focusing more, on the disabled. We have more and more children whose our sort of a challenge, children with Asperger's syndrome, or what is it called again?
Downs?
No.
Asperger's or?
Well, you know what I mean. Those kids who are challenged, I couldn't have autism,
Yes.
right?
Autism.
That population is growing. We have to start to provide special facilities to be able to treat them, deal with them, educate them, relieve the parents of some of that burden. We're about people. We're about human development. That is what I came to here to do, to lift my people, right? And I thank God that He's given me the heart for people. And that's what I'm about. Yes, we want the economy to grow, because the economy has to pay for everything. And I promise I promise that we would transform the economy, the system in such a way so that the largesse of our economy goes towards our own people.
Yeah.
That is my solemn pledge.
If you're just joining us, listeners, viewers, we have the Honorable Premier and leader of the Progressive National Party, the Deputy Premier and Deputy Leader of the PNP here with us. We're happy that they took the time just hours before a general election to remind us of what their administration has done. Now, Premier, just listening to you a while ago and listening to you countless times before leaves us wondering why people say your administration hasn't done anything. Is it because we haven't felt it personally and individually? Is it because of our political loyalty or affiliation? Why do you think we say that nothing has been done? I mean, given your experience in both business and politics, do you think that's just a political gimmick?
Well, there will always be people who are disingenuous, right? I think it would be disingenuous when we lay out everything. 140 deliverables in our manifesto, right? 49, or I think it's 49 or 50, or maybe, I don't know the number, of what this government, big things that this government's done over the last 49 years, right, for this country. And maybe those people who are saying that because the government have not done anything for them personally, have not reached out and personally enriched them. And that is not the way government works. Government work, the tide should float all boats. I believe in equality, in equity, and in need. And that is why I start with need. Mm-hmm. People who need help, the indigents, the over 70s, the old people, the kids, the young children, and those in high school, and then of course education through the community college, which is free. The healthcare system. I know a lot of people complain a lot, but when you compare the healthcare system that we have with just about every other country in this region, right, it is surpassed most of them. We spend $6,000 a day on each hotel bed, each hospital bed. We spend something like 20-something, I don't remember now, percent of our total income in the medical and health area. Mm-hmm. Most countries spend somewhere between 10 and 11, the maximum of 12%. Right? And as the economy grows, that number may decrease in percentage terms, but it will increase in absolute terms. Mm-hmm. So anyone who says that we are not doing anything is totally disingenuous and mischievous.
Mm-hmm. Deputy Leader, as a young man yourself, we see many professional Turks and Caicos Islanders leaving, seeking viable career opportunities. What do you think we need to do to retain our brightest minds?
Well, the first thing I think we need to do, Cheryl, is we have to instill a bit more national pride. Somebody has to stay and build this country. Honorable Charles Washington Mizik has been in public service for decades, and he has stayed to build his country. He could have gone anywhere in the world. He has a background in finance, economics, politics. He could be lecturing on a circuit right now, but he chose to stay to build his country. So I want to appeal to my younger counterparts as well. If we don't do it, the country will be built without us. Because at the end of the day, every developing country in the world needed its people to be a part of the growth, needed its people to be a part of the development. Because if it is built in our absence, when we try to come back and reintegrate into society, those opportunities that you could have gotten from the grassroots level at the beginning, they might not be available, and then that only causes frustration, like myself. My wife is Canadian, as well as a Turks and Caicos Islander, and this is actually our first time to vote this election here. But if we wanted to, we could have chosen to stay in Canada and start a life there. But because of love of country, I was like, all right, well, we got to move to the TCI, because TCI government at the time would have afforded me the opportunity to get a scholarship, which is where I met my wife in university. But I had to come home and serve, and I want to continue to serve in that same manner. So it has to be national pride because we have to do it ourselves. And just to touch on a little bit the previous point, I think about the why people are saying we haven't done anything. There's two reasons for that. One, it's a 14-to-1 government, so they're expecting significant miracles. And I think the 140 plus deliverables, that's the significant miracles we've done on the Honorable Charles Washington Music. But one of the things that people forget is we took over the government in the midst of a pandemic. The worst had not happened yet. The Delta virus, which was the roughest part of the variants, hadn't happened when we took over government. So we had to rebuild the economy under the leadership of Honorable Charles Washington Music to even put ourselves in position to have all the opportunities, because we've basically lost a year and a half, 18 months, trying to shore up the economy so everybody could actually have opportunities and prosper. That's been done. We've put in various policies that will bear fruit. The Premier mentioned our education policy. So in terms of free education, in a couple of years, those persons would have graduated free tuition, having their bachelor's. They'll be able to integrate. Honorable Taylor would have brought in, under the leadership of Honorable Music, brought in the apprenticeship and internship programs to ensure that when you bring in, when you do your studies, you get to integrate into the workforce. All of that is a part of building our country. But if we up and leave, who's going to do it? Because somebody got to be here to build our country. So I think we have to put things into its proper context and understand that, like, really, if we even had an additional year, the significant things that we've already done, a lot of it would have been to completion already, which is why it's important to have that fifth year when you're talking about the term. So I think returning our leader and the Progressive National Party team back to complete the work that we've started, I think is very important for the stability and the prosperity of the country.
Yeah. Let me stick with you a minute. If elected, and I'm going to rephrase that for what I think you'd like me to say, when re-elected, what would be the single biggest infrastructure related issue that you'll tackle under your premier if given the same portfolio?
I think housing is the number one. Housing is absolutely number one, because having affordable housing available to the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands is something that will transform another generation. It was transformative when it happened under the Michael Eugene Mizik administration, and it will be transformative once it happens under the Charles Washington Mizik administration as well, going into the second term, because we have a housing shortage. We are literally victims of our own success, because we were able to bounce back the economy so greatly and rapidly and grow the tourism industry under the leadership of Honorable Josephine Conley. A lot of people moved their long-term rentals into the short-term Airbnb market, where you can get a faster return on your investment, less stress. You ain't got to be the wretched landlord trying to collect your money every end of the month. So that shortened the pool. Now, our premier has committed to ensuring that we build at least 3,000 housing units over our next term, should we be successful in a few days. That is significant. That must happen. And we aren't just talking that. We're also putting the financing portion with the mortgage co-op, and the premier has committed to an additional $20 million. So on top of the 20 we've already put by the end of this financial year coming up. So we are trying to ensure that whatever takes place, we have the local developers involved, we have the concessions policy set up, we also have you in a position where you have the financing in place. When you put those three things together, the local person will get their house, you would have a prosperous local developer, and then you would have a functioning mortgage corporation, which probably could be expanded to do other things, in addition with the credit union that's also about to be set up as well. So under the leadership of Charles Washington Mizik, I think we are well positioned for the next 5 years to see exponential growth, and housing will be the key to that.
Premier, let's stick with tourism a bit, because the deputy just mentioned it. Tourism is booming, yet many locals say they feel like outsiders in that economy. How are you going to ensure that Turks and Caicos Islanders do indeed benefit from the tourism dollar?
Well, first of all, tourism is the fastest growing industry in the world. It's the last time I checked, it's something like a 13 to 15 trillion dollar industry, and in the Caribbean, it's close to I think it's like, I don't want to venture a guess, but I think it's a huge industry, and TCI is actually at the top end of the industry in terms of the quality of our plant and the quality of our visitors. And we want to stay there for good reason, because there's quality and there's quantity. Quality is what brings the price. So that's so. And we've gone a far way in democratizing the industry by providing grants and concessions to the people, to developers, local developers, and Turks and Caicos Islanders who want to invest in Airbnb and in short-term rental. Yeah. That is one way. The other way, we're providing scholarships for people who want to study hospitality management and who want to study national tourism management. These are part of our preferred scholarship list, right? And so that is the way we seek to empower our people. We have to be, we will have to take a stronger voice at the workplace to make sure we work with the private sector to escalate, to have programs that will escalate, or what is sometimes called fast track into the management categories for people who come back with these qualifications. Can take them through the paces so they get experience at each stage. We're also investing heavily in the development of tourism content, tourism qualifications through the community college, including building a small hospitality school next door to the community college site that we have identified and purchased in Grace Bay. So, you know, we're leaders. We work on the system. We're not just blowing hot air. We're not blowhards, right? We're people who are dedicated, who have skills, who have done things, who have written checks, because we have actually undertaken the initiative to be entrepreneurs ourselves. So we understand, I understand both sides of the aisle, the public and the private sector. And I tend to look at things holistically instead of moving things, one thing, look at the whole picture.
Yeah, rather than single lens.
And there was a reason for creating the DMO, Experience Turks and Caicos, so everybody can participate. The whole idea is to have a network system, right, where every stakeholder has a seat at the table. And I know we haven't delivered fully on that yet, and we've had a slow start, right? But eventually, that will ensure that we create both attractions and activities. And attractions, particularly activities, when you talk about the blue economy and the green economy, there will be lots of people, the creatives, whether they are musicians, people who are good at poetry writing and development, and then, of course, our whole blue economy, which is around the ocean. We're empowering people, giving them grants, right? Where we'll be building a specific marina to give access to our local water sports people so they can have a place that they can moor their vessels and operate from. So these are all things that are in the pipeline, and some of which has been delivered. Yeah. We are committed to making sure tourism is sustainable. We're investing money in helping people who are netting bonefish, giving them vessels so they can become tour guides and so that they can focus on fly fishing. Because a day on the sea for half an hour or half a day is going to bring you far, far, far more money than a net full of bonefish. And then you're actually depleting what people come here to do and to see. So we're looking at this sustainably. We focus on community and sustainable tourism. And that means through farming and fishing and the blue economy and the purple and the green and the whatever economy, to create linkages back to tourism so that more is retained. You know, we will have amphitheaters so people will go into Five Keys or go into Blue Hills at the end of the day to watch a pantomime or to watch a play rather than bring it into the hotel. Because culture is of such, you have to observe culture in its natural environment. And so we're looking at this in the big picture. We're just not empty words, throwing mud against the wall and hope it stick. We have specific plans, smart, specific, measured, achievable, and time-bound. That is what we're about to deliver for our people.
Premier, on a lighter note, but it's just as serious, during the national debate, I heard the leader of the opposition say that he saved your life. I was watching keenly. I thought I saw the glimmer of a smile come across your face. But what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, the only person could save my life and who I am grateful for is God Almighty himself. Right? He give it to me and he saves it. Now, yes, medicine could restore health if it is, but the leader of the opposition I've never even had a conversation with him privately about health, and certainly not my private health, right? And I think what is really alleging to, he was the Minister for Health at the beginning of the pandemic. And whatever he did, which was precious little, purported towards the health sector generally. And as a member of the community, right, if that's what he means, he still didn't save my life. He had an obligation to make sure that the health of his people and my people were protected. So if he thought he did anything to protect the health of the people of these islands, that's the only thing he can be referring to. I've never had a conversation with him. He's not a doctor, right? Even though he considers himself a scientist, an economist, and God knows what else, right? So I thought that was a very, very low blow, and it just spoke to the emptiness of everything he said in the debate.
Now, you also said during that night that kind of nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm paraphrasing, and that sometimes risk needs to be taken. What would you say, Premier, is the boldest, riskiest idea you have for TCI's future, and that will totally redefine the country if it's executed well?
Well, I have a number of them, right? I have a number of them. We touched on some things earlier, okay? Investing heavily in our infrastructure. I've said on the campaign trail that we will be investing over the next 5 years at least $1 billion in infrastructure. And these are all things that are planned out, okay? Including building the Spine Road link from Providenciales all the way into South Caicos. Okay, that is there's probably some risk in that, but there's a lot of benefit. Just imagine you have a school in North Caicos and one in Middle Caicos, kindergartens or primary school, right? Maybe the high school or maybe the primary school could be relocated somewhere else, and all of the kids can go there. You may not need as many teachers. You can put in better facilities, better playgrounds. And so I think the social cost of a spine road links through the islands will come down significantly in terms of whether it's clinics, hospitals, schools, recreation facility, you name it. But that will completely transform, and it would mean that people can sleep home in South Caicos or in North Caicos with their families instead of coming to Providenciales for weeks and leaving their wives and their kids unattended. Okay, so that the development is spread more evenly across the islands while we determine what happens in each place, because we don't want tourism to become a commodity. We prefer there to be specialization and in the tourism sector, so that it doesn't just become a commodity. That will happen if people are able to determine whether they go into North or Middle to do a project. Right now, the pressure on Providenciales is immense, particularly on Grace Bay. And if we're going to have a sustainable environment, we have to spread the development and the benefits of the development across our islands. So I don't see it as extremely risky at all. Right? But at the end of the day, what I see happening in South Caicos today and what is happening in Providenciales, I think we finally have the ability to link something with something, right?
Yeah.
When my parents were talking about this, there was nothing to link together. There was no real economic benefit. Now we have the benefit of having two major centers of development, South Caicos and Providenciales, and people could live at home. When I go through South Caicos and I see all of the homes that are closed up, right? Some of them are actually deteriorating. Just imagine if those people can go back and live in their own homes, right? Or for that matter, as the economy grow, people could travel you can have internal tourism. So I think it's a fantastic idea, and one whose time has come.
Yeah. Deputy Leader, critics often argue that development projects favor foreign investors over local developers or local investors. Is that so? And if it is, what's your response to individuals to try and show them that there is indeed a level playing field?
Well, what I would say is that for the procurement process from a capital standpoint, it is open because fundamentally government wants to get value for money. So if you're spending $1 million or 2 million or even 10 million, you want to ensure that the people who are the end users or the beneficiaries ultimately get best value for money. Now, over time, many Turks and Caicos Islanders have mastered the system of procurement and have done well. You have the Olympics, you have the Lindley Goldmans of the world, you have the Jamalco, Jermaine Malcolms, who would have over time built themselves to a place where they can compete with anyone in the world in our system. But what we've done and made it a part of our community enhancement program, as well as the ministry's mandate, we want to take small contractors, get them to medium size, medium to large. We have our contractor symposiums where persons will be told about all of the projects that we intend to do. You have our ministry, you have AG's chambers participating, you have procurement participating, because we want to get them up to the next level. So you have your direct award contracting. You have your intermediate contracting, which is 10,000 to 100,000. So once you learn the government systems and start hitting several of those types of intermediate projects, you can bring on a QS possibly. You can bring on a structural engineer as a part of your company. Then you can go for capital. So we want to grow it organically from the grassroots and ensure that more and more Turks and Caicos Islanders can participate at that next level. And of course, Premier, I didn't mention this as a part of some of the things we're going to be doing, but we started to work on the construction bill in terms of ensuring that the construction that takes place generally, not just TCIG, is dominated by the Turks and Caicos Island contractors. Mm-hmm. That's something that we've started to work on, and we intend to complete very early in a new administration. This would go in line with the things we would have done with the real estate bill. Then we're going to look at completing the revamping of the business licensing, because as the Premier would have mentioned, he wants to ensure that the majority, the greater piece of the pie that is generated by our economy goes to Turks and Caicos Islanders. So that's something that we are doing intentionally and progressively from our policy and legislative standpoint to ensure that Turks and Caicos Islanders can compete at every level and benefit from the fruits of our labor.
Yeah. And Deputy, as a good street Grand Turk boy, mm-hmm. what is it that your leader has told you he will do in the next term for Grand Turk?
Well, we will have our hotel and we will have our airlift because when we go on the campaign trail, that's one of the things that you hear often. When are we going to get a hotel? When are we gonna get a hotel? We've had several proposals. We've had MOUs signed with persons who had expressed interest. But I can assure you that our premier, at the very least, we will build it ourselves and find a management company. And even if we have to sell it on later on, that will be delivered inside of Grand Turk. Because again, like the premier said, you have Provo as an anchor, you have South Caicos as an anchor on the other end. It's almost a chicken and an egg situation. Do you bring an airlift to attract the hotel, or do you do the hotel to attract the airlift? So there are a couple of projects that need to move forward. We've done some consultancy work for proposed hotel development as well. We're exploring the branding of such a hotel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's something that must happen, right? Because that's something that we all want to see delivered as a government, and especially the Premier wants to see delivered for the people of Grand Turk.
Yeah. Now, Honorable Premier, we've heard from the Deputy. I want you to speak directly to Grand Turk and tell them what's going to happen in this new 5-year term.
Good. Thank you very much. I'm happy for that question. In the first place, let me say that Grand Turk is dear to me.
We know
I've
that.
spent more time there than I've spent anywhere else, right? And I have been the only politician that I'm aware of who actually attempted to do a commercial resort project there. Put that aside, I have to speak to Grand Turk and Salt Key together. Okay, as we speak, we are in the process of reviewing a development plan or proposal for Mandarin Oriental Hotel project in Salt Key itself. We're at the final stage of the ITT for the land itself to be allotted. And there's another project as well, because we're looking at 2 major high-value, low-impact projects for Salt Key, both with the involvement of locals, right, with the naval strings in Salt Key. Turning to Grand Turk, the Deputy Premier has spoken to you. We have outline planning that are already put in place for a 100-room hotel. We've been trying to shop it around. At one stage, we brought on board TCIAA to assist. But I can tell you, leading up just a couple of weeks before the election was called, I've had conversations, and those conversations are ongoing, with Carnival. MSC is the largest shipping company in the world, and an outfit called ITM is a port management company, right, to expand the port facility, to pump literally millions of dollars in the redevelopment of the town, the historic town of Grand Turk, and building at least one onshore hotel project. Okay, and I have their permission to say this, right? These are not people who are scrapping for money, and this is not even something that was brought to a table by Carnival. This was brought to the table by the other partners, right? And part of that potential is to expand the domestic port as well, to allow cargo and to reduce the cost of living in Grand Turk. I am committed. I am very, very committed to Grand Turk, and I'm so happy. I mean, a lot of things that we've done there, we've bought additional property there. We've set aside, we're looking at expanding the opportunities for small businesses. We gave, after the pandemic, we gave literally, I think it was, I don't remember the figure, but it amounted to millions of dollars to get people restarted again. So we're committed. It's important that we have a private sector economy. Right now, Grand Turk doesn't have a nighttime economy. Yeah. After the cruise ship goes in the evening, everything dies, right? And so it's important that people have choices of employment, good jobs.
Now, Honorable Leader, I know for a fact that you're strategic and analytical in your thinking and in your actions. And I'm sure most of Turks and Caicos know that you're that type of individual. Now, all hasn't been roses. What would you say has been an unpopular decision that you had to make as the country's leader, as the government's leader, but was necessary and that you think history will vindicate?
I have to think about that one. I can't. Nothing jumps to mind. I know the leader of the opposition. I mean, the deputy premier can assist me, but nothing jumps
Nothing
to mind.
unpopular that you had to do?
DMO.
Well, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Big
We
lips
got a
on the wall.
lot of criticism for the DMO. Okay, lots and lots of criticism. We were told that we were taking away people's jobs, that we were giving the DMO or the tourism sector, we're selling out to the Grace Bay Boys or TCHTA. And of course, none of that is true. Instead, we now have two organizations, Experienced Turks and Caicos, and we have the Tourism Regulatory Department. Combined, the number of persons who are employed in those two are tripled what they used to be in the tourism board alone. And so we also have additional work to do. We've actually put in place, and I know we get criticized for this, an additional $10 per guest coming into TCI on their tickets, and that is to assist with the things that I spoke to you about earlier, developing attractions and activities so that every person in this country has a seat at the table and everybody can participate in what is the nation's major economic activity. In addition to that, we're giving grants. And to piggyback on what he said earlier about the participation of local in development, I want to say that one of the things we've changed, we've started giving out tax holidays that relates to the tax holidays. What we have in our development agreements is something we call an equilibrium or stabilization clause. So that if you come here today, 10 years or 20 years from now, that says we're not going to make sure you're no worse off. We're not going to tell you we're not going to tax you of a future tax that may come in 10 years from now. We're not going to tie our hands like that. So this is strategic and it's smart because we have to think of the future.
Yeah.
And what obtains today may not obtain 15 years from now. We're one of the few countries who still raise most of our revenue from at the port. There may be a different way to do that and raise more revenue. And we have taxation has to be progressive. We have to find ways to reduce that on people at the low income stage and perhaps collect more from the $1 million income earners and stuff like that. So we're finding ways to make sure our people grow. Our focus is on inclusive growth.
Honorable Leader, you also had the management of the portfolio of finance. Let me ask you this. If a panel of neutral experts reviewed your government's management of public funds, what would they find? Prudence or waste?
Well, I think independent consultants and minds have already spoken to that, right? We have a triple B plus credit rating with a positive outlook. We have, I think it's something like $68 million in a sovereign wealth, national wealth fund. Today we have close to $400 million in cash. We have 180 or more days of cash reserve for operations when our framework agreement speaks to 90 days. So I think numbers don't lie. The figures are there to show that we have managed this economy well. We have not wasted money. We are investing in housing. We've purchased a lot of property over the years because over the previous to that, we've lost a lot of property, right? And God is not making any more of that. We have to think of the future of our people. So I think all in all, we've been extremely good stewards of this economy. And after all, that's why the people elect us. They want us to protect them, protect this place, and protect their lives and their livelihood. And that's what we are about.
Yeah.
And we have to have plans. You can't just be fly at night or fly by the seat of the pants. You know, we have to have solid, concrete plans about where we're going to go from here. We have a national vision statement that has, and we live by that, and we also live by the United Nations development goals, right? Because those are well thought out, and our policies are based on those two things, and that's what we're guided by.
Yeah. Deputy, there are a lot of young people, even today, right now, as we're speaking, who are still on the fence. Speak to those young people. Tell them why a vote for the Progressive National Party is the thing to do. Notice he's getting himself set.
Thank you for that question, Sharon. You see, the thing I like about the Progressive National Party, we have a great mix of experience, youth, public service experience, as well as private sector experience. So you have a great combination and a mix to be able to govern the country. So a lot of the things that happened didn't happen just by happenstance. So you have essentially a team made up of various individuals, but captain, since we're talking about Don't Rock the Boat, captain by a very experienced leader in the Honorable Charles Washington Mizik. So he's the type of leader that's going to sit back, allow everybody to make their contribution, assess whether we're talking sense or nonsense, and then say, all right, well, this is the route we need to go. And a perfect example of that, before we came into office, land was entirely under the AG's chambers. Now, the Premier would have commissioned a study to be done, or review, I should say, with a local consultant as well as a UK consultant. After they came back, then they didn't recommend outright that ministers should have land back, which is one of the things we campaigned on. I was in cabinet as a young pup, just reached. I'm like, yo, we need to push out the Premier. I said, no, we can accept it, go forward, try to get the things we need done. Lo and behold, within a year later, all of a sudden we just, at one of the budget meetings, then we hear land is under the governor and the Premier, and the Crown Land Secretariat is being set up, right? And it's like, wait, governor ain't gonna deal with no day-to-day operations, so the land is effectively back under a minister now. That's from his experience, knowing how to maneuver the systems, and that's what he said. We work on the systems while working in the systems to be able to get results for the people. So going forward, we will have more say and more autonomy over our decisions. And that's not even to talk about, even though the leader of the opposition tried to jump on and take credit, and the Premier got to say he was there for the constitutional changes. But if it was us, with our 14-1 government. He was invited to the table, yes. And I'd be in partisan here, but that's okay. The Premier could be the statesman. I can be the partisan one with this. But it's because of the Premier learning the lessons from the attempt with Honorable Rufus Ewing to change the Constitution right at the gate, that we made the recommendations that didn't happen. Then Honorable Charlene Cartwright's administration essentially came back with the exact same recommendations and put that forth to the UK. That was a failure. Right away, Honorable Mizik realized, okay, well, we did the same thing twice. It didn't work. What needs to happen different? That's how we employed the services of Sir Geoffrey Jowell, the constitutional lawyer that had helped Cayman to get their new constitution, which was the most advanced at that time. I think we're going to have the most advanced overseas territory constitution at the end of this election, maybe outside of Bermuda, even though theirs are getting kind of outdated right now. So that work that Sir Geoffrey Jowell did in conjunction with our local AG's chambers, putting the meat to those recommendations. After having consultations once more, we got over 20 plus changes to our Constitution, which allowed the 19 elected members, which allowed us having a defense, having parliament rather than a House of Assembly, and the many, many things, so basically giving more authority and autonomy to elected leaders so we can do more for the people. Because if you imagine the 4 years, COVID 18 months, we bring back our economy significantly with all these restrictions with procurement, which we're in the process of fixing as well, because I think we employed the services of Ernst & Young to be able to deal with the recommendations to move procurement. So that's going to be easier. So if we've done all of this under the leadership of Honorable Charles Washington Mizik for these 4 years with all those challenges, man, imagine what he can be able to do with this team with loose hands for the next 5 years. Man, stop playing. Only one choice there is, young people. Don't mind the noise in the market. This is the right leadership. This is the right team in place. So don't rock the boat. Keep it where you got it. And support Honorable Charles Washington Mizik and Team PNP straight down the line. Bubble, bubble, bubble.
Honorable Premier, what would be one of the first things that you're going to do in your new term to cause people to say, this is my time, things are going to be different? We keep hearing about a better future. What is it that you're going to do for me to say that future has finally arrived?
Okay, so we're going to focus on implementing or operationalizing some of the things that's already in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. We have to immediately stand up the credit union. We have to immediately operationalize the mortgage corporation. Okay? But one of the things we also have to do is look at how we can add more, so domesticate, as for want of a better word, more of some of these industries, mm-hmm. so that they are under the control and the driving force of our local population. Talk about the construction industry. We have a construction policy that we're finalizing that would set a threshold under which a foreign contractor cannot bid, mm-hmm. or cannot accept a job, because we have a lot of very skilled local contractors, but they don't have the resources necessary, yeah. to allow them. But also there's also a built-in prejudice, and so it's up to us to protect those people, mm-hmm. by making sure that there's a threshold. Mm-hmm. What that threshold will be, I don't know. Yeah. Whether it's a 5 million or 10 or 15 mm-hmm. or 30 million threshold, those are things we have to determine.
Mm-hmm. And you started that trend with the real estate bill.
Right. So but those are some of the things that we will deal with on day one. Mm-hmm. But back to what the deputy said, we have to fix procurement. Yeah. We have to find a way to be open and transparent but efficient in delivering projects on time. And that is something that we will do immediately after we would have been elected, mm-hmm. on the 7th of February. Yeah. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Deputy, take a minute, wrap up for me, speak to Turks and Caicos, tell us what you want to hear. Friday isn't that far anymore. So tell us, what you'd like us to take away.
Thank you, Cheryl, for the minute. And Turks and Caicos, it ain't long now. We are literally hours away, less than 48 hours before the polls open on February 7th for you to make a choice. I think the choice is clear. The Progressive National Party is the best option to continue to lead the country over the next 5 years under the leadership of our Premier and our party leader, Honorable Charles Washington Mizik. We've done great work for you. We've stayed the course. We've pushed for you. We would like the opportunity to see and complete our tenure. And of course, as people would know, that the number 7 biblically is the number of completion. On February 7th, give us the opportunity to complete the mission that we've started under the leadership of Honorable Charles Washington Mizik and Team PNP. So don't rock the boat. Keep it where you got it.
And why should I vote for Jamal Robinson? What sets Jamal Robinson apart?
Well, what sets me apart is being a part of the team, because we're all a great team and we've learned to work together for the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands. So this is about teamwork at this point, because no one person can form a government. Only one person can form opposition, as we've seen over the last 4 years. But I need anybody who would support me individually. They need to support the team collectively, because that's the only way you can ensure that you have a progressive government going forward. So you have 10 votes, so give us 10 bubbles, 10 conch shells, and vote for the entire team, because you can't take a chance. You can't take a chance with your future or your children's future. We need Team P&P brought back to governance on February 8th.
And Honorable Leader, speak to the country, speak to Turks and Caicos, and tell me why, as a Turks and Caicos Islander, I should ensure that I refer to you on February 8th as Premier of the Turks and Caicos.
I prefer you refer to me as Uncle Washi.
Okay, Uncle Wash.
But yes, very good question. Well, you know, the benefit of being around as long as I have been around is that everybody know who I am. I have a track record, and I have made it my business over the years to speak truth to the people of these islands, sometimes at my own detriment, right? But I don't think I should try to fool people, because I respect people too much to try to lie to them, despite the label that the Leader of Opposition will try to paint of me, redefine me. So if you look at what I have been able to deliver in all humility during the time I have served this country, starting out as a humble police officer, right, working the beat, I have prepared myself for leadership, right? I have educated myself privately and personally. As a young police, not even finishing high school, I came to Grand Turk, work with my books and my cap, studying on the street lights at night, was able to matriculate into college, into university. Today I have 3 master's degrees, and I have a whole ton of experience. I've been places, I've been represented these islands across the world, and so I feel proud to have been given that privilege, and I hope I have delivered. I'm not perfect, right? But every morning I get up, I ask the good Lord to help me to do the best I can for my people, and I approach my job with a clean heart, right? And I am, you know, people have said a lot about age and all that stuff. Well, Moses was not a young man, but he led his people across the Red Sea, right? And I'm not a Moses, right? But I know I am focused on doing the best I can and leading my people. What I don't want us to be is so disgruntled and so argumentative and engage in tearing each other down that we stumble in the wilderness for the next 40 years. So, but I am committed to give every ounce of blood left in me and my entire intellect and energy to moving this country forward. And I am blessed with a group of younger people. By the Constitution, this is my final term as Premier, right? And so I'm blessed with a group of very talented young people, including my deputy. And if you go down the list, you will see that I would be very content in leaving this country in the hands of. Right? I am happy for the support that they've given me, and I feel like together, when I depart, we will leave this country a better place than we've met it. So, to the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands, the choice is clear. The choice is very clear. Vote for a government, a party that have clear plans, rather than someone who is just snatching after straws. We have delivered for you. Our record speaks for itself. So I'm appealing to you, whatever you may have against me, think about your children. Think about your future. Think about the future of the unborn. I think we are on the right trajectory. And I want on the 7th of February, if you love your country, if you love yourself, if you love your children, and you can take a moment to peel away the prejudice of blue or yellow and focus on voting for me, Charles Washington Mizik, Uncle Washi, and my Deputy Premier and the rest of my team, you will not regret it. By the help of God, we will do what is right. And I know that He has already blessed us. And I'm so proud of His blessing. And we will continue to deliver for you. So vote for the Progressive National Party straight down the line to ensure that we are your next government. Thank you. May God bless you. And may He bless these beautiful Turks and Caicos Islands.
And just quickly before you go, Premier, as a husband, as a father, as our country leader, and as my Uncle Washi, how should we behave on Friday? Tell us a little bit about our decorum and the words we're using right now that are hurtful and aggressive.
Okay. Well, I thought I'd closed out, but thanks for that question. Because, yes, a lot is said during the campaign, right? And a lot is said that we probably shouldn't say, but we can't take it back. It has been said. But I think this country has always had the ability, our people has always had the ability to reunite. And once the elections are passed, the harshness and jaggedness of that moment passes with it. Right? So to the extent that I personally have said anything that has hurt anyone, right, it is not meant with malice. And I am a big enough man to say that I apologize for that even before the vote, right? So I would appeal to everybody to move on Sunday, on Friday the 7th with dispatch. Be respectful to each other. Vote often, but by all means, vote early. By all means, come out and vote. Be orderly, respect the process, and everything will go smoothly.
Yeah. So, listeners, viewers, you've heard from the leader of the Progressive National Party and current Premier, as well as our Deputy Premier and Deputy Leader of the Progressive National Party. They've reminded us that general elections are on Friday the 7th. They've asked us to support the Progressive National Party. You've heard all the reasons why, not just today, but for the last few months, you've heard all the reasons why. And we want to take this opportunity to wish both you gentlemen all the very best, much success. And we hope that Saturday morning we'll be referring to you as we are today, as Premier and Deputy Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
This has been a special edition of First Edition.